All right, guys, there's a massive change coming to Clash Mini. Let's take a look.
Well, we are not going to allow players to move their minis between rounds. And the reason behind this change is because we hear players' feedback. Players told us that the game is too random and do not have enough depth, so we decide to not allow players to move. By doing that, players know exactly where enemy troops are, so they know how to play against them in the next round.
That's right. And those minis that have clash abilities and are relying on the positioning of other minis are going to be extremely valuable moving forward inside of the game. So what about the event game modes and the other game modes in the games then?
We will apply this change to all events mode and the duel and rumble.
So wait, gizmos used to be immovable objects on the board. Now minis are that. So what happens with gizmos?
Yes, we learned a great deal from gizmos. Players love them because they reduce randomness and add depth. So we decide to bring this idea to all the minis. But we are not removing gizmos completely. We are keeping them in our events mode.
So expect some events that are going to feature gizmos return in the future. What happens about the tiles then?
Well, tiles will play a bigger part in the next update because tiles helps with placement. In the next update, players will have the first tile spawning at turn 1, which help with the initial placement. And then on turn 3, we will spawn a second tile that can help players turn the game around.
We hope you like the new Clash Mini as much as we do.
We believe that all of these changes will make Mini more intuitive and deeper at the same time.
We are ready to tweak things depending on how everyone reacts, but we believe these changes make Mini much better to play. I can't wait.
So I'm going to have gameplay going through in the background, but that is right. You will no longer be able to move your minis within Clash Mini. Now, this is a massive change. All the numbers that you see on screen are subject to change. They're tweaking balances. You'll see upgrades of units that have like 50 health, and Spirit Goblin does 20 damage with its Clash ability. Those numbers aren't final. They're still playing with numbers, so don't really react to the numbers just yet. Let's focus on the actual thing, which is the gameplay. So visually, the game looks freaking great. The upgrade that they're putting into the game looks so good. I love the visual change. Hats off. I am, however, very concerned about the no movement, right? In small talk, they said there was too random and there's no depth to the game. So no depth, what did they decide to do? They remove interactivity. Okay, that's the first thing, is like, once it's placed, that's it. So here's the biggest problem that I have right now. When there's no depth, it's a lot harder. There's no adaption in the game with no movement. Once a unit is placed, you cannot change that. You cannot adjust. Oh, my opponent has this now. I need to switch up my strategy and put the unit somewhere else. It is stuck there for the rest of the game, which means if you make a mistake super early on, you're just going to lose immediately. You can lose a game within the first 30 seconds just by realizing after you play something, oh shoot, maybe I shouldn't have played this there. There's also there's 30 seconds in between rounds. Like, for a game that's supposed to be casual friendly, a player who's in a casual mindset cannot decide that this is the best play for them for the entire game in 30 seconds, especially when they have to do it with multiple units. That's the biggest issue that I have. And the second thing is there are going to be units that are going to be super strong just based on assumption, not based on the facts, because obviously the balance changes are still in play, but we'll have units like every deck is going to have Fisherman, Prince, Spear Goblin, Ice Wizard, Magic Archer, things like that. Archer, because Archer will target backline units, Magic Archer is going to be able to get splashed. All you have to do is hold your Magic Archer until later rounds, and then you're going to be able to pierce through and destroy their entire enemy line. You're going to have Fisherman, which is going to apply pressure. You're going to have the Ice Wizard, which is going to have to be used to play that third star ability, so that way your opponent can't get Clash abilities off on the units that you don't want them to get Clash abilities off. You don't want Ice Wizard in the front line, but at the same time, you don't want your backline units getting hit, so do you put Ice Wizard in the front line and use the third star? There's so many different questions that need to be answered within a 30-second window, and casual players do not have that freedom. So I am concerned about the adaptation factor without being able to be moved. Now, I know I'm playing devil's advocate because on the other side, let's argue the other side for a sec. There is a ton of strategy within not really being able to move. It's almost like chess, right? Like once you make that move, you can't move it back. You can only move it forward. You can only use that strategy moving forward. But however, in chess, if I move my pawn to d4 and then my opponent moves their knight and I'm like, oh shoot, I need to change my strategy. I need to do something to get myself in a better position, so I'm going to move this instead. Oh, no, maybe I don't want my knight there. Maybe I need to move it back. You move the knight back. Pawns you can't move back, but every other unit you can move in any direction. So yes, in terms of the strategy, you're thinking turns ahead, but when you're thinking turns ahead in Clash Mini in 30 seconds, you cannot make that decision, especially as a casual player, that is going to be the best decision for you for the rest of the game. So that is my concern with the no movement, because it minimizes adaptation. A suggestion I do have, because again, I do see the positives in no movement, that it takes more skill, it takes more knowledge, it takes more understanding of the game. It'll reward the players who pay attention the most and understand the game the most. So I do like that part of it. That's a good part of it. I think in terms of adaptation, allow players to bring more minis into matches. So then this way, you don't really know what your opponent is playing, right? Because say you can bring 7 minis into a match, but you can only place 5. Well, you might know based on the hero that, okay, here are the options that they're going to have, but what do they actually have? What are they actually going to play? Then there's adaptation to it, because it's like, okay, I placed my archer in the back in round 2, right? Then you're like, all right, perfect. I have miner that I was keeping, or I have my own archer that I was keeping, or I have the lineup with my magic archer, or now I can place my golden giant in the back and tank an archer shot. And then you put those units into play, and you have those 3 different options that you might not necessarily have had, because it's only a limited deck with 5 minis. So I think that is going to be the biggest thing. Another thing you guys are probably noticing on screen is that you're generating more elixir per round. I think it's +3 every time you lose. Again, all these numbers are subject to change, but if they're tweaking with the idea that you gain more elixir on a loss, so that way it kind of pushes you ahead in terms of, this is my advantage to strategy adaptation. So they're putting in elements that allow a comeback feature and also a more adaptive feature to the play. So I'm liking what we're seeing, but as you can see on screen, look at this. He placed the golden giant early, and look at the magic archer placement. Magic archer is going to be able to line up with the golden giant, with the magic archer is going to be able to line up with the golden giant with the royal champion, and be able to just completely destroy them early on. So that's what I'm saying about placements and things like that. Like, yes, you need to be careful. You need to be able to kind of see those moves ahead of time. Maybe if you think your opponent has a magic archer, maybe you don't line stuff up like that. But it's just small things like that, and the ability to adapt is super important. So I think, again, like I said, being able to carry more minis into a game would be able to help with that quite a bit, because then you can kind of save. You can see right here, do I place a spear goblin? Do I just focus on upgrading units? If there are other units in play, then maybe you don't rush down to put your units. Maybe you try to slowly play it, and then there's a slow play game, and you decide, is this actually the best unit for me? Do I want to hold and see what they do? I know this unit is going to generally be synergized with my hero, so this is the unit that I want to play, right? Those are the decisions that you need to make, and I really think having more minis helps with that decision making, and also helps with the ability to adapt to your opponent's plays better, because if you wanted to play, say, Spear Goblin, oh, maybe the guard is going to be better for me here because he has an archer, so maybe I can place my guard in the back, get the shield down, or maybe he has a prince here. Maybe I want to place my guard instead of my archer here because the guard will be able to help me protect my backline units with the prince charge, and I can use its clash ability to get that extra shield so it doesn't die as quickly. There's so many different strategies and adaptation that can be made, but you can't do that with a limited selection of minis. I think for adaptation, having multiple minis is going to be the best way to move forward. Let me know what you think in your ideas and thoughts of all of the... I know this is an absolute massive change, so feel free to share anything you have, suggestions about improvement, comments about what the system is, maybe suggestions that I made in this video. So that's going to do it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed, and this is a massive change coming to Clash Mini. Let me know what you think.